Good morning, everyone. Welcome to For Goodness Grief. Good morning to my co-host, Coach Rev Lee Atherton. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Regina. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you as well. Well, we are excited. I don't know if excited is the right word, but we are pleased to be here to be able to hopefully give you encouragement, um, tools, resources to help you on your grief journey, uplift you in any way that we can. So that's our purpose here, right, Lee?
Yes, yes.
So
It is such an honor to be
it
here with
is.
folks.
It is. And something we don't take lightly. So we appreciate you being here
Mhm.
and the feedback that you give us. We'd love more of that, but we do appreciate everything that you have given us in the way of feedback because without your feedback, we don't know if we're hitting on the right topics for you or not. And I recognize, or we recognize that sometimes the topic is really going to connect with you, and some days it's not, but it's going to connect with someone else.
Right.
But the more feedback we get from you, the better job that we can do of meeting the needs of people who are on this grief journey.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So this morning, as many of you know, Lee is an end of life coach and a minister. And as a minister, and she wears more hats than that, but as a minister, she often has I'm going to use the word opportunity to officiate at funerals. And as we were visiting this morning, she was sharing some of the inspiring things that can happen at a funeral, as well as we all know there are those things that are not at all inspiring and are challenging and
Right.
cause more grief to those who are mourning already.
Yes.
So let's talk about that this morning, Lee,
Sure.
and give people some inspiration here.
Yeah. I was sharing with Regina the family that I'm working with now. In fact, after we meet this morning, I'll be headed out to do this particular funeral of a young man who died tragically and suddenly. Uh, and often at times of intense emotion, we aren't able to hold our tongue.
Yeah,
We say what we think and what we feel more readily than not. And
right.
I see very frequently at funerals the um, challenging family dynamics really show forth.
Yes, they
Very
do indeed.
understandable.
Yep.
But this family was different, and I am so, uplifted by this past week and my interactions with them. So the young man who died had one love of his life, who he was with for many years. They never married, um, but they did separate after the birth of 2 boys. So he leaves the woman that he still loved, who acknowledges that she still has deep love for him. He leaves 2 boys, 12 and 14. His mom and dad are divorced and both remarried. And so there are all these fractions of relationships,
Right.
broken
Yes.
relationships,
Broken relationships.
where
Yes.
usually cause a lot of tension and angst, and things aren't smooth and easy. But this family has come together as one, and they are supporting each other, respecting each other, honoring each other, and encouraging each other's creativity. So
Hmm.
this funeral has a lot of different pieces in it, um, and each family member is participating in some way, and it's all happening with grace.
Mm.
The young man's stepmother, who came into his life when he was an adult, um,
Right.
is actually singing a solo. And his biological
Nice.
mom was like, "Yes, absolutely. Her voice is beautiful." That doesn't happen.
Nice. Yeah, that doesn't always happen. Yeah.
So,
When when you find yourself in the midst of one of those funerals where it doesn't always happen,
mhm,
what can you do? What can you I mean, obviously you're not gonna be able to solve all the problems because there's so many layers of emotions there. But
right.
how can we as one individual make it better?
We as one individual, that's a good way to put it, Regina. Be aware of our own feelings. Often, if we're attending a funeral, we know some of the dynamics that are probably hanging in the background.
Yeah,
So when we go, um, knowing what our feelings are in terms of do we support person A or person B, um, and then reminding ourselves to put that in check for the moment. That we don't have to use this time as a time to snub the person we disagree with
right,
or to make some snide remark,
right,
but for the sake of honoring the person who died and for the sake of those people who loved him or her being supported as best as possible, zip your lips
I like that. Zip your lips.
for the time being. And
Yeah.
and that's not easy, but
No.
when we prepare ahead of time and remind ourselves,
Right.
that can
Yeah,
help us catch ourselves, and I think that's one of the biggest. And
it is.
if you're part of the immediate family or part of that immediate chaos and brokenness, it's harder,
Yes.
but I think still it's trying to remind ourselves, um, that we don't need to have it in this particular moment. If we can wrap a bubble around this
Yeah.
moment and protect it,
Right.
we will be we will feel better in the long run.
Right.
Sure, I'm not saying that angst or anger and pain and heartache isn't there
Right.
and may or may not be expressed at a different time,
But
but
this is
we
not the
can
time.
insulate it.
Yeah. This is not the time to do that. It's
Yeah.
the time to be respectful because you don't know what's going on in that other person's heart and head.
Mhm.
And just no matter the relationship you've had with them, they're entitled to their grief as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's, would you, would you characterize our need to be right, to be, my way, not yours, as actually a form of selfishness or not?
I don't
It's the
think of it
term that
as
comes to my
selfish.
mind at the moment.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, let's talk about that.
let me take that back. I think there are some people who do come to that out of a sense of selfishness and narcissism,
Yeah,
but I think it also goes well beyond that
yeah,
to some self-protection.
true.
We don't
Definitely,
wanna
there are
admit that
elements
we're
of that.
wrong, right?
Yeah,
Um,
right,
and that can be on many, many levels. If we're
right,
wrong about what we believe the truth to be, going back to that reptilian brain, we put our
right.
lives at risk.
Yes,
So it can
exactly.
even go to that deep of a level. So I
And
don't
then
think
there's
it's
there's that
necessarily
self-preservation issue as well that comes in terms of when we know what things a person might have done that were damaging, cruel, whatever, there's an element of self-preservation to keep yourself from being hurt by that person again.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Complicated, isn't it?
Very complicated. We've got to, and again, in this time, it's such intense emotions
Yeah,
that we feel more defensive.
right.
Our armor is up
Yeah,
in a very
yeah,
different way than on just a day-to-day
right,
time.
right.
And thinking ahead, you know, I believe in preparing instead of reacting as best we can. Asking yourself, at some point, I may have to interact with this person again who I
Mhm.
really disagree with.
Right,
How can I do that?
right.
And
And
sometimes,
recognizing they may say something that's totally out of line. How am I gonna handle that?
right, right.
Yeah.
And if needed, giving yourself permission to not go.
Yes. Yes.
When my aunt died, loved her dearly. I celebrated and honored her life, yet I couldn't be there in the midst of my siblings and their families.
Right.
And instead of saying,
Self-preservation.
"I have to go because that's what you're supposed to do."
Right. And so you gave yourself permission to mourn differently
Yes. Yep.
because going to the funeral is a part of the mourning process.
Right.
You allowed yourself to shift that
Yes.
and to
Yes.
be okay with that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. We each have to figure out what we need, don't we?
We do,
And honor it.
and honor it.
And that's the hard part.
And be kind to ourselves in the
And be
midst of it
kind to
all.
ourselves. Absolutely be kind to
Mhm,
ourselves.
mhm.
Yeah.
And not to
Awesome.
say that any of this is easy by any
Right.
stretch,
No,
by
no.
any stretch. And try not to go through it alone. Find a
Yeah.
trusted confidant.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough in any of the family funerals that I have been to, and within my own family, to not have those situations that real angst going on between people. But I do know it happens and can be very um, the word traumatic comes to my mind,
Yeah.
because you're already in this place of pain and now you have to deal with additional pain.
Right. I was just thinking, if anyone noticed me smile a little bit, of another funeral. So another piece of it is, if you're aware of friction, how can you, as an outsider or not directly involved, be a support? And I
Yes.
remember at my mom's, was it mom? Yeah, at my mom's, couldn't have been. Had to be my dad's calling hours. Um, Standing in line, and one of the people who came through the line and caught me completely off guard, but gave me a hug and said, "I'm sorry," was one of the men who had abused me as a young girl.
Oh,
And I was my kids surrounded
exactly.
me and a couple of close friends right there, like, "You can move on now," and didn't leave my side, right? So how can you support
Yes.
someone who's in that
Support
position
others. Wow.
and watch
And
for it?
very astute of them to see what was going on and step up and protect you from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Mm. all kinds of memories can surface in these events
Oh, yes.
that can trigger us or trigger someone, someone else who's there can be triggered in a way that
Right.
causes them to react unpleasantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Brings up a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
certainly can.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to end on a heavy note. So, in the midst of it all, there is hope,
Yes.
right? There is a way for all of us, I think, to find what this family is finding.
Yeah,
Who knows how they're going to be with each other tomorrow?
exactly.
But in the midst of the moment, they're able to come together
And
and
support one
create
another.
something beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
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 And you're right. Tomorrow, who knows, or next week or the next month, who knows. But for today, when everyone needs everyone else's support, they've come together. Oh, and we lost Miss Lee.
Oh, and
You
us too.
froze. You
Oh,
froze up a little bit.
am I
There you
frozen
are.
now?
You're unfrozen now.
Yay.
It's moving a little slowly, but it's unfrozen. So, yeah, very good. Thank you, Lee, for sharing that. That's really powerful and
Mm,
thought-provoking on how we show up as our best selves
mhm.
in this
Yes.
situation where everyone needs us to be our best self.
Right, right.
Yes.
And friends, if this has triggered you in any way, or you're feeling conflicted in or confused and want to talk about it, Regina and I are here. Just
Yeah.
reach out.
Just
Happy to
reach out.
have a quick conversation.
Yep. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate all of you and you allowing us to share um, our experiences in a way that hopefully helps others. And so, again, we invite your comments, your questions, your suggestions. This is your group. We want this to be a place of love and support for you. We want to show up as our best selves to support you through your journey. I
Yes.
came across just a last comment here, and I will post it later today. And Lee, I don't know, maybe I got it from you. I don't know where it came from, but I came across a screenshot that I had on my desktop on my laptop. It was on the desktop, and it showed these 6 jars, and there's a ball in each jar, and it says people think that um, as you go through the grief journey, the grief gets less. And so the first three, it's showing the ball getting smaller and smaller. And it says when in actuality, it's us growing. The jar, the vessel is getting larger, which makes the ball relatively smaller. And I
Ah.
thought, I gotta post that in the group, but I don't know where it came from. I can't give the proper attribution to it because I don't
Oh.
know where it came from. But I thought, so nicely done. It's yeah, our container grows so that the grief feels less
Mhm.
at times. Yeah. So I'll post that in there today.
I'll look forward to seeing that.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, we wish everyone a beautiful day and a wonderful week.
Yes. Be well, everyone. Good to see you, and we'll see you next week.
All righty. Bye bye.
Bye for now.